Hey yo everybody. So last week I had an appointment with a woman in the group and it inspired me to come on and talk to you guys about your blood tests and your lab tests. What she said to me after about 15 minutes into our appointment was, "Why didn't my endocrinologist tell me this?" And I said, well, I understand it can be very frustrating. And that's one of the number one questions I get, because there are actual real answers in most of your guys' tests that your doctors aren't talking to you about. So today I'm going to do a quick review and share, I've crossed out her name, but share what this woman's blood tests showed her. And there were already answers that could describe her symptoms. So she came and she scheduled a free breakthrough call with me. She had her main goals were anxiety and panic attacks, depression, and hot flashes. And she said, "Please help me. I really need help. I'm really stuck." She had some substance issues. She had some traumas as we began talking, and she really just wanted help. And so I asked her what she had tried. And she said, "Oh, I've tried everything in conventional medicine." And that's kind of what the doctors tell you. It's like, well, we've kind of given you everything we have. So I pressed her a little bit and I said, "Okay, well, what did you try?" So there was some regular therapy, little bit. There was, and then pretty much it was medications. So they tried her on a lot of different medications, which they didn't even try a lot of different categories of meds. They just tried a lot of different meds in the same category, and that was it. I said, "Oh, that's really not a whole lot." So I said, "Well, let's look over your blood work and see at least what's there." So I'm holding in my hand, I put her blood work into one of our functional forms, which you can find in the group. I will post it in the comments below. And that allows me to look at these numbers. So I said, well, the doctors look at lab ranges. So they're looking to see if they can diagnose you with a disease or not. And that's pretty much what they look at. If they can diagnose you as diseased, meaning that your numbers are way outside of a healthy range, then they can, prescribe you something, or they can, give you treatment recommendations. But if you can't be diagnosed with a new disease, they tell you everything's normal. So what we do is we look at functional ranges, and those don't change lab to lab. Those are what the medical textbooks say are optimal healthy function. So even though you may not be able to be diagnosed with a full-blown disease, anything outside of optimal or normal range of what a healthy human body should be at, of course you're going to have symptoms. And so I don't care about could you be diagnosed with a disease or not. What I care about is, why do you have symptoms? So we looked over her forms, and she said that her endocrinologist tested for a whole bunch of things, and he told her that she was normal. And the truth is a very different story. So just a baseline on any person of what you should, everybody, they say you should get your blood drawn every year, just to, for prevention and to catch if there's anything early. There were over 40 missing markers from just a regular person, not to mention she's been in menopause, and he didn't even check her hormone levels. So there's a lot missing here. And I don't know if you can see, but look how many blank spaces. Look, they didn't even check her for anemia. They barely checked her thyroid, no vitamin D or immune function. There's a ton of missing numbers here. So first off, how can any doctor or any practitioner tell you you're normal if they didn't test the numbers, right? So that's number one. Number two, of the numbers that she tested, there were several that were outside of optimal function. And these numbers alone could describe her symptoms. So the first one was blood sugar. was low. And when your blood sugar dips low, you produce adrenaline and cortisol. These are stress hormones. And you guys know adrenaline, right? Fight or flight. We talk a lot about that in the group. Well, just on a basic level, if your blood sugar is crashing and you're producing adrenaline to basically flood, to make up for your low blood sugar in your body and flood your system with sugars and artificial energy, that equals anxiety. There's your panic attack right there. Blood sugar problems, so from just a functional medicine perspective alone, are correlated and found in people with anxiety and panic disorders. And depression as well, because blood sugar is one of your brain's main fuel sources. So if your blood sugar's whack, you're not going to have the energy to produce your neurotransmitters. By the way, even though they were giving her tons of different meds, what was she on? Some for depression, some for her thyroid, a steroid that nobody can figure out why that was prescribed, and a few, I think, pain meds because she was in a car accident. So nobody tested her neurotransmitter levels. So they've just been playing a guessing game and throwing out meds at her, this poor woman, and she's not feeling better and she's having side effects from the meds without actually doing any proper testing. So another number that was off was her total protein levels. They were low. What that tells us is she's either not consuming enough protein, which is usually rare. So I talked to her about that. And I said, well, it sounds like you're eating enough protein. You're not digesting. And I said, do you have a vertical line in the middle of your tongue going up and down? And she's like, yes, I do. And I was like, oh, you are not producing enough stomach acid to digest your protein. So then you don't have enough protein in your body. Of course, that leads to, nutrient imbalances, which can be connected with depression, anxiety, and probably hot flashes too. Less so, I'd say blood sugar more so. So let's keep going. Her alkaline phosphatase, which is an enzyme, it's not really specific to one condition, but this is a marker that we look at, especially for people with chronic inflammation and pain. It's a really good indicator of what's going on in your system and if you're actually healthy or if there's an underlying issues going on. So the cutoff for that is like 90, and she was 120. So this is like really high. This is like her doctor probably should have said something. But because there's so many missing markers, I can't necessarily say what that's about, other than there's a real problem in your blood work. It's not all in your head to why you're not feeling well. Her liver enzymes were very high. Cutoff is 26 on AST and ALT, and she was at 68 and 88. And so we know something's going on with her liver. And a sluggish liver, think of your liver processes all of your blood in your body. In school, I learned there's more blood at any given time in your liver than in your heart. So what we should be saying is, I love you with all my liver. But it filters everything. So it filters out your hormones and estrogens. It filters out toxins and chemicals and inflammation, and your neurotransmitters, your brain chemicals. So if your liver's having a hard time, hello. And she's like, oh yeah, well, one time I did have a doctor tell me a long time ago that my liver enzymes were high. Great, what did they do for that? Nothing. And she's like, yeah, and that same person said that I was anemic. And I'm like, wow, well, and it was her endocrinologist. I was like, well, why didn't he test your iron to see if you're anemic now? Because if you're anemic, nothing else that we do is really going to work. Obviously, we can work on addressing the root causes, and anemia will address itself and go away. But any doctor, if there was a history of anemia, should be running it. And so as you can see, she's getting more and more shocked and learning more and more as I'm actually walking through her each of these numbers and what they actually mean. So she's like, well, yeah, I really think my thyroid's off because I have all the classic symptoms. My hair's falling out, more and more symptoms as we're talking. My hair's falling out. I'm really, really tired. All of this. My hormones are whack. And she says, but he said it was normal. So I said, well, he tested 2 out of 11 numbers. So we can't really say if, and he didn't even test your thyroid hormone levels. So we can't even really say if your thyroid's normal or not. But of the two that he tested, they are both functionally low. Meaning you've got some thyroid issues, your thyroid's not well. So if you have all the thyroid symptoms and you're not in optimal range, that's a reason to start addressing the thyroid. And, I said, I can't even tell you because he didn't test all the numbers. I can't even tell you what kind of thyroid problem you have. And she said, well, it's hypothyroid. I was like, well, which kind? There's like 10 different kinds of hypothyroidism. And she went, what? I was like, yeah. So 101, right? Physiology of the thyroid. There's a couple steps in the brain. There's a couple steps in the liver, your thyroid gland, the thyroid cells, the receptor sites. There's about 10 or 11 different steps in making thyroid hormone. So giving you thyroid hormone medication only addresses 1 out of 11 different kinds of issues. So I have no idea what kind of thyroid issue you have. And instead of just chucking thyroid hormones at you, you should probably do some testing and figure out what is actually going on. No test of vitamin D, no test of cholesterol, triglycerides, inflammatory markers. They did test some of her immune system. Out of that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 markers were high. So there's definitely an immune system thing going on. 3 of those are correlated with anemia. So it's likely that something's going on there. There's a marker that's correlated with taking estrogen replacement, which she is on. So we should probably back off estrogen. Like, they're not giving her the right things, and the clues are already here. They're already here. There's no mystery here. So, and then with the other immune markers, we can see she's got inflammation, allergies, and infection. And in her urinalysis, doctor didn't say anything, but there's bacteria and there's leukocytes, which is an immune system cell. So clearly she's even got stuff going on in her urinary tract. So as I walk her through what the numbers mean, and I walk her through what they actually tested and what they didn't test, the light bulb was going on for her. And usually people have to get mad. Every single person that I've looked at their blood work, if it's the first time they've learned about functional ranges and they have somebody actually take the time to walk them through what the numbers actually mean, every single one of them says something like, why didn't my doctor say this? Why didn't my doctor test me for everything? Why didn't they address the thing that's lab high? They didn't even tell me about what's out of their own range, nonetheless what's out of the functional ranges. And that's the number one thing that I hear from people. And reviewing all your medical records and your lab tests is just something I do in a free consult to make sure if we can help you or not. So I want you guys to know you need to start looking at your own blood work. You need to start learning what it actually means, and you need to start getting the right tests, and I can help you and tell you how to do that. So the big question is like, did I sell her on our program, right? Did I tell her to sign up and we can fix everything you need and we're the one-stop shop? Nope. What I actually did was I knew that she needed some other things. And I also knew that she needed to utilize her insurance. And so I actually spent time researching and helping her find what her next right step was. And she wanted to work with us. And I said, no, you're not ready for this. What you need to go do is this. Here's some people in your area that provide that. And let's look at your insurance and help you have some conversations with your insurance or get covered in a different way so that you can get what you need here. And after 2 months of that, we have a game plan of, getting her insurance sorted out, getting her to actually get her endocrinologist to test all the numbers. If they won't, we will. And taking it step by step, because if we dive in and overwhelm her with stuff that's not going to be supportive, that's not healing. So no, I didn't sell her on our program. I wouldn't let her in because that wouldn't have been supportive for her. And now she has a game plan of how to take the next steps, and she certainly has a deeper understanding of what her labs actually say and what's going on around her health. So it's not a mystery. So everybody that sees me, we kind of see the people that have already tried everything, quote unquote. And what they soon learn is that they tried a lot of things in one kind of perspective or one kind of modality or one kind of approach to illness or belief, kind of theories around health and wellness. And what they haven't done is address the root cause. Because if they had addressed the root cause, it would have worked and they wouldn't have symptoms. So if you know that what you've tried, kind of worked some of the time or didn't work at all or worked for a little while and stopped working, it was just a Band-Aid approach. It didn't address the root cause. And so we've actually got to dive in and make sense of your health history and find what they missed. And there's answers. Every single blood test I've ever seen has real answers that the doctor didn't tell you about. And when you address the real answers that are already there, you immediately start feeling the difference. So I just want to encourage you guys, and that was a huge start in my own journey. The first thing that made the massive difference for me on switching gears was learning how to read my own lab tests. So there's already answers. You just got to find them. And once you know what they are, you can make the right decisions for your health. And the beautiful part about what we do is we don't just stop here. These are not the root causes. These are symptoms. So we ask, why is blood sugar low? Why does she not produce stomach acid, which, by the way, when you're in fight or flight, you shut down your digestion, so it's no brainer. Why is her thyroid not working? And the first steps are in the brain, actually in the hypothalamus and pituitary, which is usually the HPA axis is what it's called, which includes your adrenals and your brain. That's dysfunction in that part of your body is what explains hot flashes in like 99% of women in menopause who experience hot flashes. So I told her, hot flashes aren't a normal part of menopause. It's a sign that there's an imbalance in the body. So one, you got to start slowing down and catching and not minimizing or dismissing your own symptoms and recognizing there is something really wrong here. But then you got to actually dive in and have somebody that can help you navigate, okay, but why? And what's happening on the body level, which these labs give us black and white scientific answers about that and how to support the body. And then you've got to start asking, why can't the body self-repair? Why are these issues in the first place? And we look at that by looking at the brain and the nervous system, which are the control center for the whole body. And you take it a step further and look at you and your perception and your attitudes, how you're responding to stress, how you're coping with your life, how you're taking care of yourself. All of those have to be addressed. Those are the real root causes for you to get in a body that self-repairs, for you to live in the parasympathetic, resting, digesting, growth and repair, and for your body to be able, and every single cell to be in growth and repair. There won't be symptoms in that. And what's beautiful about that is if we give her a supplement to help her digest her food, it's not going to solve her problems. It's going to be a Band-Aid. So we've got to solve the real root cause so that she doesn't need a lifetime of supplements, restricted diets, and all the crazy holistic health stuff that people get into. She can just go back to having a normal, healthy body, just like she did at one point in her life before she turned on these illnesses. So I hope that's helpful for you guys. And if you want me to do a review of your own lab tests, I will. I'll spend time with you. I think I spent about 50 minutes with her the other day. I'll spend 20, 30 minutes, 60 minutes with you and dive in and help you understand what was missed. And, it's always there. There's always answers there that just conventional medicine doesn't tell you about. I'm reminded we had a lady that went to the Mayo Clinic and their team of doctors didn't have any answers after extensive amounts of tests. And so they had heard about me through a friend who knew that I, help people figure out their weird chronic mystery illnesses. And I said, well, no guarantees, but I'm happy to look over your medical, file. And so she sent it over to me. And what I did is I laid it all out on the floor, little bit by little bit, and I looked over all of it. And within about 30 minutes of reviewing her file, I was like, well, what are these Lyme bacteria? They're like off the charts. like in the thousands, numbers in the thousands. I said, what are they doing to kill off the bacteria and help your immune system? Because you look pretty autoimmune at this point. And she's like, oh, well, they said they couldn't diagnose me with anything because I only had 2 bacteria, not 4. To get a diagnosis, I need 4, and so they had no treatment for me. Hello, there's your answer right there. So we started addressing that, and she started noticing immediate results. And I mean, like within a day or 2, she started noticing improvements. So when you know what you're doing, you know how to look at the body, you know how to look at your brain and nervous system, and you know how to look at the deeper things, you get like a permanent solution and an understanding of your body and what it's doing and what it's telling you. It's much more than just a Band-Aid or a supplement or a modality or a tool. You actually get an understanding of what's going on, and you get to make choices that give you that permanent solution. And then you're just back to normal. You're not managing your symptoms for the rest of your life, thinking that's what a healthy lifestyle is. So if you want me to help you review your labs, I am available. I will post a link to schedule with me, absolutely free. It's what I do. It's what I love every day, day in, day out. I was bedridden and I needed this work, so it's my passion to be there for you guys. And then I will also post in the comments below a link to the functional forms that I use, so you can put your own numbers in. And if you want, I'm happy to come on and give a little class on doing some blood work. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know. And I'll put together a free class for the group where we can, kind of do it group style and really dive into how to read your labs and get the right lab tests. So that's it for today. Hopefully that's really helpful and eye-opening for you. There are real answers, and your doctor hasn't talked with you about them. And so that's probably the first step for a lot of you that will be really eye-opening, is actually putting ink to paper and seeing what's actually there. This isn't conceptual, what I teach. This is very practical, very logical, and very reasonable. And it's always dealing with reality. So that's what I love. There's just really clear answers, and then you don't have to have fear around what's happening with you, or that you don't know, or that what you're doing isn't working. Because once you have that understanding, it makes sense why what you've tried hasn't worked. It makes sense why some of the things you've tried have made you worse based on what's going on in your body. And so then you know what to do for yourself to make yourself well. And that's one of the most empowering things. So thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon, and I hope this was helpful. Bye.